Marvel fans can't wait until the next two Avengers movies. But the question is, who exactly are the Avengers right now? Or rather, who will be on the team of Avengers by the time we get to the next Avengers movie? Well, there are some new reports and rumors going around the internet right now talking about the specific team of Avengers for Avengers the Kang Dynasty. And there's already some people throwing shade at this lineup. So what I want to do in this video is I want to go over this rumored lineup, talk about where all of this information is coming from, and explain to you guys why I actually think this lineup could be really freaking awesome. And then I want to talk about some crazy things I heard about the lineup for the Avengers in Secret Wars, and oh my friggin' goodness, it is hype as hell. So first up, this is coming from two main places. One is a rumor on 4chan that seems to be connected to an account that has gotten things right in the past, but just a couple of days ago, Grace Randolph also made a big video about what she has heard about the Avengers lineup for the Kang Dynasty. Let's go over the lineup that is out there from 4chan, and then we'll talk about what Grace Randolph said. So the lineup is as follows: Sam Wilson, Captain America; Jennifer Walters, She-Hulk; Mark Spector, and I guess Stephen Grant, Moon Knight; Peter Parker as Spider-Man; Shuri as the Black Panther; Carol Danvers as Captain Marvel; Shang-Chi as, well, Shang-Chi; and Scott Lang as Ant-Man. Now, in the new report from Grace Randolph, the only changes or things that she thinks will be different is that she heard that Destin Daniel Crichton wants She-Hulk and regular Hulk and Moon Knight for sure. She's also heard that Kevin Feige wants Daredevil in this lineup of Avengers, and so perhaps he'll be an Avenger also in the Kang Dynasty, or maybe he'll pop up in Secret Wars, according to Grace. Grace also doesn't think that Ant-Man's gonna be a part of the lineup, but I really do, especially considering some of the other crazy rumors going on about how the Kangs are gonna have it out for Scott and all of the Pyms and the Van Dynes. I mean, it really seems like Scott's kind of important to this whole multiversal thing, so I actually do think Ant-Man will be in the lineup. And look, man, I know a lot of people are throwing shade at this particular lineup and comparing it to the lineup of the first Avengers team, and I think from where we're currently at with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I totally get it. I understand they're not as cool and they don't have as much history together as a unit, but I really think that this lineup could be great, and I think it might make a lot of sense after a bunch of other movies that are said to be coming out before the next Avengers movie. Like, we've heard a ton of stuff about Captain America 4, which is the next outing for Sam Wilson. The movie's called New World Order, and it's supposed to dive into a bunch of crazy stuff with super soldier programs being enacted, tying into the Thunderbolts, having President Thunderbolt Ross as the Red Hulk. It really seems like this movie could be a film that sees Sam Wilson step into the full role as Captain America and maybe even realize that he needs to reassemble the Avengers. Next up, you're gonna have Captain Marvel, who's obviously incredibly powerful. Now, definitely not a fan favorite character. There are a lot of people that just don't connect with Captain Marvel, and there are those people that actively hate her. But regardless of that, I think the character's used really well in both Endgame and Infinity War, and her movie's said to tie into incursions and crazy things going on with the multiverse, so I think Carol makes a lot of sense for this team. Probably gonna see her come back to Earth after her movie and have like a real understanding of just how bad it is out there in the multiverse. Next up, let's talk about the Hulks. Yeah, She-Hulk, not necessarily the best show. Okay, that's cap. Like, it's terrible. It's a terrible show. But the character of Jennifer Walters, the character of She-Hulk, could still be awesome. I think a lot of the problems that happened in that show weren't exactly Tatiana Maslany's fault, and there are some good things in the She-Hulk show. And there's this big rumor that we're going to get a World War Hulk movie coming out in the MCU, very likely before the next Avengers film, and you can't really do World War Hulk without all the different characters on planet Earth having to face down a Hulk. So this could be a good movie to sort of get fans to maybe like Jennifer Walters a little bit more. Hopefully they have the Bruce Banner Hulk going crazy. There are rumors coming out that maybe you're going to get the Maestro Hulk in that movie, and oh my freaking God, let's go. But it's also an opportunity for this lineup of Avengers to go through some experiences together, to actually have to work together to stop whatever's going down in World War Hulk, likely a very crazy and powerful version of the Hulk. Now, Moon Knight is a really interesting character. I thought the Moon Knight show was decent, not great, but one of the things I actually didn't love was the changes they made to the Stephen Grant character and to Mr. Knight. And so on the one hand, I think it could be interesting to have a character like Moon Knight on the team with the Avengers and having him slip back and forth into the different personalities. But on the other hand, that could get old really, really quick. It might just be a little too silly for what we have, coming with Kang Dynasty. However, Moon Knight being connected to ancient Egypt via Khonshu and maybe even other knowledge of the gods is really interesting. They even mess with time in the Moon Knight show. And of course, there's that Easter egg of Ramatut as well. So depending on what they do with the Moon Knight character next, like if he gets his own season 2, or if he pops up in like the Blade movie or maybe a Midnight Suns project, Moon Knight is potentially a really brilliant character to come together in this team of Avengers. And Oscar Isaac is just freaking awesome. So it would be sick to have that star power of Oscar Isaac on this roster. As far as Shuri as the Black Panther is concerned, despite myself and many others wanting them to recast T'Challa, I do believe that Shuri did an incredible job in the Wakanda Forever movie, and she's a hell of a Black Panther. I really enjoyed the physicality, the combat, the fact that she has all this crazy ability with technology. She's really almost like a combo of Iron Man and Steve Rogers, and a really valuable asset to this team. She could also, using the technology of Wakanda, or maybe even, the heart-shaped herb and her going into the ancestral plane, she could gain access to, an understanding of what's going on with the incursions or what's going on with Kang. And I do think Ant-Man will work on this squad. And despite this Quantumania movie being like one of my least favorite movies in the MCU, I still absolutely love Paul Rudd, and I think he's pretty damn awesome in Avengers Endgame. Of course, he's a comedic actor, and they tend to go heavy on the comedy with him, but he can absolutely sell in very big, dramatic moments. And especially considering the idea of someone in his family being killed by Kang in the Kang Dynasty, we could really see Scott unleashed, which we saw a small bit of in the Quantumania film. And then there's Spider-Man. Tom Holland's Spider-Man, who was recently talked about as being the lead of Avengers the Kang Dynasty. This comes from some really reliable scoopers. And as I've been saying, I don't think this means he's going to be the leader of the Avengers, but he's probably going to get the most screen time, and a lot of the narrative will focus on Peter. And the rumor is we're definitely going to get Spider-Man 4 before Avengers the Kang Dynasty, and that movie's rumored to have Daredevil in it. And so, maybe this whole Kevin Feige wanting Daredevil to be on the Avengers will happen via Spider-Man, and maybe whatever the two of them do in Spider-Man 4. And I'm going to do a whole video on why Spider-Man is so important for defeating Kang, but there are new rumors out there that Andrew Garfield might be popping up in Venom 3, and they may make it so the spell at the end of Spider-Man No Way Home doesn't actually work, and it doesn't send those Spider-Men back to their own universe. But I think there's just a lot of story potential there with making Spider-Man really important for fighting against Kang, and having experience with the multiverse. It's also just straight facts that Tom Holland as an actor is incredible, and he's particularly great at showing grief. I know it's kind of messed up to say, but it's true. Like, he's really, really good at it. So if the Kang Dynasty is going to be showing a bunch of loss and Kang just whooping everybody, what better character than Tom Holland's Spider-Man for us as an audience to connect to as he watches this devastation and reacts emotionally. Now, Shang-Chi is an obvious pick, in my opinion. He's not only in the post-credit scene with Bruce and with Captain Marvel and Wong at the end of his own movie, but the 10 rings are pretty obviously connected to Kang the Conqueror. And even recently, we've got some new leaks and rumors that Shang-Chi 2 is going to be coming out before the Kang Dynasty, and it's also likely to deal with multiple evil Kang variants. And I think Shang-Chi 2 could be another like Avengers-esque movie where you get a lot of this established team going back in time with Shang-Chi as they try to fight other variants of Kang. And so maybe now you see where I'm coming from. Like, I actually think this lineup works really well for what they want to do in the Kang Dynasty. And I'm really, really hoping that they're going to assemble after Captain America 4, you know, Sam Wilson like brings them all together and we get to see them actually acting like the Avengers in different movies. This is a really key component to the success of Infinity War and Endgame. The fact that it pays off all of these different little conflicts and relationships that we've gone through with the characters over the courses of phase 1, 2, and 3. And look, I really want to get into the lineup for Avengers Secret Wars because it's bananas, okay? But before we do, I think it's important to note that this being the main Avengers team in the Kang Dynasty does not mean you won't have other characters. Just in the same way that in Infinity War, you get a whole bunch of different Marvel characters. Like you get the Guardians and you get Doctor Strange, who's actually never officially been an Avenger, but teams up with the Avengers, you know, because they all go to the Sanctum. You're going to get that in the Kang Dynasty as well. Maybe even the new team of Guardians of the Galaxy after Volume 3, maybe they'll be involved. If they really get Nova established in the MCU by then, maybe Nova will be involved. It's possible the Thunderbolts are also involved in one of the big fights against Kang or his army. And maybe you'll even get the Young Avengers. And this is a rumor that's beginning to pick up some steam. The fact that the Young Avengers will be established and you'll have an Iron Lad, a good variant of Kang, with them by the time we get to the Kang Dynasty. And I also think that Wanda, maybe Vision, maybe even War Machine and other characters like that could also pop up in the Kang Dynasty. But now let's talk about this freaking Secret Wars Avengers lineup. And I also just want to say before we get into it, this is way more loose. I mean, in some ways, I believe this lineup even more than I believe the lineup for the Kang Dynasty. But I think this particular movie, Secret Wars, is something that Marvel's really trying to retool and still figure out. But I have heard that Deadpool and Hugh Jackman Wolverine and all 3 Spider-Man and Loki and Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man will essentially be the core characters, the core Avengers for Secret Wars. And that is simply a phenomenal lineup. I mean, Hugh Jackman Wolverine, Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, all of the different freaking Spider-Man and Tom Hiddleston Loki. That is a brilliant group of actors, most of which have embodied their comic book character roles for years and years and years. Oh, and I forgot to mention it, but I still believe it's on the table, and that would be Chris Evans as Captain America. Throw him into the mix as well, and I mean, just wow, mind-blowing stuff. Now, I also believe that almost any and every variant or you know, actor that played a Marvel role over the past 30 or 40 years is on the table. I'm talking Lou Ferrigno Hulk, Dolph Lundgren Punisher, like literally all of these characters are on the table. But we've heard in a rumor from Paul from Heavy Spoilers that this might happen in a big iconic scene towards the end of the movie that resembles the scene at the end of Endgame when they open up all the portals and all of the different heroes come in. I mean, unless they want Secret Wars to be a 6-hour cameo nonstop fest, they're gonna have to probably save some of these actors and some of the crazy things they want to do for one particular set piece. And so it's possible that technically, like, all these freaking characters are gonna end up being Avengers in Secret Wars, but I really do think that the narrative itself will focus on that core group. So let me know what you think about the lineup for the Kang Dynasty and the lineup for Secret Wars. Are you hyped as hell like I am, or are you just not sure this is going to work out? And if you want to watch more, why not check out this video I just did about where the MCU goes with Kang after Quantumania. It's pretty freaking crazy.